and welcome to another Every Tuesday video. This week's a little different. Obviously you can see me, so that's different. But in this week's kind of video slash tutorial slash info session, I've gotten a few questions lately about what happens after you're done creating something in Illustrator or Photoshop. Say you have an invitation or a brochure or a flyer and you need to take it to a printer, or you just need to get it printed. What are your options? How do you go about doing that? So I'm here to give you 3 options and walk you through each one of them, and hopefully I can answer any questions you might have had about that. So the first option is printing your project at home. And obviously you need to figure out what type of paper stock you want to use for your whole project. So you're going to want to go out and find stocks to compare and see which ones work best for your budget and what you're trying to do. So a few resources that you can use to find paper stock. The first being envelopes.com. You can use them for envelopes too, which is really awesome because they got the peel and stick closure on the envelopes, which is really awesome. So then you don't have to lick envelope after envelope when it gets really gross. So envelopes.com for envelopes and stock. They have a bunch of options. They even have folded options, so then you wouldn't have to score things yourself. And I'll leave a link to all the resources that I mentioned in this video right in the video description. So if you wonder spelling of anything, so I don't have to spell everything for you, just look at the video description. Everything will be there. So envelopes.com, there's PaperSource. PaperSource is, I believe, nationwide, but there's not a ton of them. So if you have one in your area, definitely take a trip there. Check out all the paper stocks that they have. They have very high quality paper there. So check that out if you have one in your area. If not, I think you can order samples online as well. There's some similarities between envelopes.com and PaperSource, so definitely compare the cost between the two. And then Michaels. I mean, Michaels is everywhere, so just head on down and see what type of paper feels right to you that'll work for your project. Of course, you're going to want some thickness if you're doing invitations, so you don't want anything too flimsy. So it's really important to actually go in the store and touch the paper. So once you have your paper stock, the next thing you need to do is if your project has a fold in it at all, you're going to want to put in a manual score line in your file. I think I've touched on this before yes, I have, for the Christmas holiday greeting card that I did recently, and I'll leave a link to that so you can see how to put in manual score lines. And then when you're going to want to save it as a PDF, because PDFs, whenever you export as a PDF, you have the option of including crop marks, and those are going to be the lines that you're going to follow when you cut it out for yourself at home. If you have a bleed on anything, meaning if you have any artwork or color that extends beyond the edges that you need to cut, you need to have your crop marks, because with a bleed, it's taking the color and it's extending it that much further from the project size. So when you cut, you don't have any of these weird funky white lines, because no one can cut perfectly, right? So you don't want any weird lines to appear. And if you extend the color beyond your project dimensions, you're always going to cut within the color and everything's going to look really beautiful. So make sure you include the crop marks. I'll take a screenshot of where to find that options in your PDF dialog save as box, and I'll include it in a link in the video description as well. So now you've got your paper and you've got your PDF. So after you print everything out, now it's time to cut everything out. And this part is really important because you don't want to be sloppy now that you've invested all this time in really nice paper and making your design look the way that you wanted to. So my suggestions for your cutting tool, I actually use a utility knife, and I bought this at Home Depot for like $8. You can use an X-Acto knife. Lots of people do. Lots of people get hurt using an X-Acto knife. But for me, I've always enjoyed a utility knife more, because with an X-Acto, it's kind of like just using a pen to cut. Whereas this, I've got like a full grip. So the paper's not moving anywhere. My cutting tool is not moving anywhere, and my ruler isn't moving anywhere either. So I think it's worth it. Once I started using a utility knife, I never went back. So utility knife. For cutting, you're going to want a corked back ruler. You can find this at any office supply store, Staples, I think I got this one at, also Michaels. So the reason why you want a corked back ruler is it holds the paper much steadier to your cutting surface, so like your matte cutting board. it's going to hold the paper right down to it, so nothing's moving around, which is obviously really important if you're cutting. And then the last thing is your cutting mat. So I think I paid $15 for this at Michael's, and they last forever, so it's totally worth the money that you spend on it. I've had this one for I think 5 years, and it's still holding up really well, and I'm using it all the time. Just make sure whatever size you get is larger than your project dimensions are. That way you're not like cutting off the sides. You don't want to do that. So just make sure it's big enough. I think this one might be, what is this one? 17 by 11 by 17. So that's the size of this one, and it's worked fine for me with everything that I've needed. Okay, so that's option number 1, printing at home. Option number 2, using an online printer. So I'm going to list off some online printers that I've used in the past from lowest cost to highest cost. So lowest cost would be overnightprints.com. Obviously, they've got a pretty quick turnaround if they're called overnight prints. However, you might want to take an additional couple of days just to order some samples and see the type of quality. Because it is a lower cost, you want to be aware of what kind of quality you're going to get from those costs. So if you have the opportunity, take the extra couple of days, get some print samples, and see if it's really the option you want to go with. And if you do choose to go with any of these online printers, I would highly recommend using a matte paper stock. Everyone offers gloss, but gloss is kind of tacky and very out of fashion these days, so go with matte. It's worth the extra, I think, $2 or $3 that it'll cost you. So matte paper stock, overnightprints.com is your cheapest option. Second option is U printing. That's U, like the letter U, printing.com. Also, I'll leave a link for all of these. They're kind of middle ground. I actually used them recently for my nephew's birth announcement, and we were really happy with how they came out. So once again, using the matte stock, it was just a postcard. Came out great, double-sided. They've got a lot of instructions and options, so just read through them. Once again, get some samples if you can. The last option for online printing that's the most expensive is moo.com. So they have a lot of cool options for feeling very high quality without the super high cost. So you can kind of get like a faux letterpress feel with your paper if that's something that you're looking for. Once again, get samples, make sure it's worth the cost, because this one's pretty significantly more expensive than you printing or overnight prints. As with all of the online printers, make sure you have the opportunity to proof them. When you proof with an online printer, you'll get a PDF from them, and it'll show you the crop marks, like I talked about with printing at home. So those lines where the cuts will be made, and it'll also show you the color. Make sure all of your type looks the way that it should be. Sometimes with a PDF, it can get a little funky, so just make sure everything looks the way you intended it to look, and then give them the go-ahead to print it. And sometimes this does take an extra day or two, so just budget your time well, just keeping that in mind. So the last option is a brick and mortar printer. So a brick and mortar printer, a lot of people say, I don't know where the printers are in my area, how do I find them? And actually there's a great tool out there called inkerlinker.com, and you can search for printers in your area that specialize in the technique you're looking for. So if you want to find just letterpress printers in the Atlanta area, you can put that in and you can get the results that you're looking for. And then you can shop around, you visit these print shops, ask them what type of file that they prefer to receive. And when you ask them this, they know that they're dealing with someone that's more serious and more knowledgeable about print setup. And chances are you're going to avoid incurring additional costs from file setup fees. So make sure you ask them what type of file that they want, and they typically will request a PDF with or without crop marks. Maybe ask on that one. And if you're doing letterpress, they may want an EPS file, so just keep that in mind. Also, ask for samples. A lot of printers will just give you samples of the work that they've done. Others, maybe you just have to look at them in their shop, but it'll give you a good idea of what type of quality you're going to get for the money that you've budgeted for going with a brick and mortar printer. Brick and mortar printers are really awesome because even though they are more expensive, you get the time and attention that you're looking for from an experienced professional, and you can rest easy knowing that the outcome will look exactly how you want because you have that face time with them that really makes the difference when you're printing something that's more costly and very important. So Make sure you proof at the end before your project, they say, goes to press. You're going to proof one printed piece of your project. And when you proof it and you approve it, it means that you are agreeing to let them print out exactly what the sample they gave you looks like. So if there's anything that you don't like about that sample, do not approve it. Make them print another one until you see exactly what you're looking for, because once it's approved, you can expect all of your other pieces to look exactly the same as that sample. So those are your three options. You've got printing at home, online printing, and brick and mortar printers. So if you have any questions, additional questions, leave them in the comments section and I will do my best to answer every single one of them. I hope this answers some of the questions that some of you might have had. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe. I release new videos all the time, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.